Hello, my name is Allyson Gutwein, and I am the Executive Director of the Zionsville Chamber of Commerce. Today I'm here with our Mayor of Zionsville, Mayor Emily Styron, and we are doing the 2022 State of the Town. We want to thank you for joining us. Also, these questions have been submitted in advance by members of the community. We will cover 2021 accomplishments and what's coming up in 2022. This week on social media channels, the town's departments have been covered. Please check out the town's social media. First, let's dive into economic development. Last year, we were at a really fantastic groundbreaking together. Tell us about this.
Yes, it was thrilling to be present for the groundbreaking of Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan's racing operation. They are going to make Zionsville their home, and to have a new business that's bringing 70 jobs into our town and watch it come into being right now every time we drive down 106th Street. It's just thrilling. It's been a long time. I know, it looks so good. And it's just very exciting to see new energy and new prosperity coming to Creekside Corporate Park. I am so grateful to the Chamber's support and help in getting the word out about a big initiative that the town has undertaken, which is the Zionsville Gateway area. And there's been so many moving parts to this project. The READY grant that has helped us to start to look at opportunities for taking the Zionsville Gateway area plan and start to really build action plans around that development and the road reconstruction and some of the opportunities that we want to bring to bear, and that wonderful, iconic space entryway into our beautiful town.
So this was an area that's been exceptionally important to you throughout your campaign and as you started in this new role. Why is this so important now?
First of all, I felt like, for me personally, as a long-term resident of Zionsville, I was disappointed in the lack of development, really underutilized, and in some cases, buildings that were falling apart, greeting community members and visitors when they came into Zionsville. And it really was something I wanted to make sure that we rectified. It was a great day when we bulldozed the PNC lot with the broken gutter. Didn't have to see that anymore. That was wonderful. But then it's, well, so now what? There's a reason why that area hasn't been redeveloped, and it's because it has a lot of complicated environmental issues, lots of roadways coming together, not an easy place to just drop in redevelopment. So this Gateway project has been an effort to understand those prohibitions to redevelopment and to engage the community, because as we know, the residents who live in the village, they have a very strong identity around what that area needs to preserve and what it can be. But we wanted to engage the whole town because the Zionsville Gateway and Main Street really belongs to all of us, and we treasure it. And we wanted to continue to look for ways that we can engage the community in helping us identify some use patterns. And now that we've got that project approved through Town Council and the Planning Commission, which has been huge, I'm so grateful to those bodies for the time they've taken and the care and the their support and moving forward with this plan. Now it's all about how do we take the opportunities available to us through the public process and engage private developers and private property owners to hopefully come together with development projects that fit within the Gateway study.
What is the READY grant for people who may not be familiar with that?
So Governor Holcomb has created a program for the entire state to take advantage of federal dollars coming into states and communities across the nation to redevelop, re-energize, re-engage community development and economic development projects. I've been as mayor, a part of a Central Indiana elected officials group that's been meeting well before I was mayor. Previous mayor participated as well. And as we started to look at the READY grant project, there was a desire to have regional economic centers come together and provide projects to the READY evaluation team around a couple of different primary focus points. Certainly economic development was some of it, but some of it was also sustainable and equitable community development projects. How do we engage our community through tourism and through just other broad community building options?
It was a competitive process.
It was a competitive process. And Zionsville chose to join the group with the Central Indiana group, the READY group that included the suburban districts that are similar to Zionsville, Noblesville, Fishers, Carmel, Indianapolis, this entire Central Indiana region, which as mayor, I've been a part of that team even prior to the READY grant in terms of talking through regional initiatives, talking about how each of us as elected officials in our own communities, how can we learn from each other and support one another. So we wanted to use the READY grant dollars to really tie the ZGA project into other projects that we have underway. Our pathway projects, for example. Part of the READY grant will enable us to pull together our rail trail system all the way into the Gateway, down Main Street, and eventually hook to 96th Street and the Monon Trail. So that connectivity alone we're really passionate about on a regional level. How can we continue to create the building blocks between these community amenities so that it becomes a regional amenity? And while we're not on the White River, we are a part of the White River watershed, which was what allowed Zionsville and McCordsville, way over on the other side, we were able to become a part of that group because we sit in the watershed. It's a great fit. I've learned a lot from the other mayors, and I know our community and economic development director, Wayne DeLong, has long relationships with their counterparts in these communities. And I think is kind of unique. These communities coming together and really working together, recognizing that economic development doesn't happen in just one place. The workforce, the talent development, the attractions, the things that are drawing new companies into new communities, they're coming to communities like ours that's focused on sense of place, that's focused on education and quality of life. Some of the potential impact for this particular project when we talk about the Zionsville Gateway area is that it is going to bring new jobs into this area, and it's also going to increase our annual AV in terms of property tax dollars. Right now, that money isn't earning a whole lot, but as we begin to grow more businesses in this area, the tax rate for that will also grow. And something I get asked a lot is, why aren't we able to build more community amenities for our community, like Whitestown or like Carmel or Indianapolis? And a big part of that is that, as you know, Zionsville relies heavily on its residential tax base, which does not yield the same kind of revenue for the town that a corporate footprint does. Mm-hmm. That's why the chamber's work is so vital for us as a community. Your team's work in building businesses and supporting businesses in Zionsville is really what helps us grow our community amenities, helps us with public safety, helps us with everything that the town is doing. Our school systems benefit so greatly from those corporate dollars. And my goal is to really focus every day on how do we grow our corporate footprint? How do we increase that tax base so that we don't have as many referendums in the future, so that we can, just have more of the amenities that we're traveling to other communities to enjoy, having them right here in our town.
Creekside has certainly been a focus, and that's one of those areas that is ripe for growth.
Absolutely.
Are there other areas in the town that you are also looking at for growth?
There are, and I'm looking to really look at other developers. They're looking for the land that they own and coming to the town to ask how we can support them. The Hy-Vee announcement, new grocery store that's coming to Zionsville over on the western side, heading towards Whitestown, that is a great project. And the developer is the one that attracted it and brought Hy-Vee into town. I think RLL might have added a little help for that too.
We love that partnership.
So very, very much. And I think that is what it's important for all of us who are involved in the work that you and I are both involved in, is that this is partnership, partnership, partnership. How much can you talk to individuals, business owners, or other community members about what attributes and why people are coming to Zionsville and investing their businesses in Zionsville. I went to the Indy Chambers conference in San Diego earlier this year. And one of the reasons I really wanted to go to this is because of all of the Zionsville businesses that are a part of the Indy Chamber, as well as all the businesses that are Indy Chamber members that aren't here yet. I want them to know that Zionsville, we're ready, we're open for business, and we want you to consider this is not just your family's hometown, but your company's hometown too.
Despite the challenges of the pandemic, the public safety department stepped up in a big way. Can you talk about some of the fantastic achievements of the fire department and police department?
Absolutely. No matter what our community is facing, they are always here. And COVID gave us an opportunity to reflect on that and really to support that in a big way. There were a number of wonderful community organizations and citizens who routinely reached out to the public safety, both fire and police, to say thank you in all kinds of ways. We had many chamber members and many local businesses bringing food and just helping in every way they could to say thank you to our police officers and our firefighters. They've not missed a beat. They're wonderful, fantastic public servants that we work with daily that keep our community safe and well and healthy. One of the things that came out of COVID was the police department's opportunity to learn more about and develop a program called REACH. And it was really needed during the pandemic. And REACH is a focus on mental health and wellness, and how can calls for emergency situations or for concerns that are related to a mental health crisis, how can that be addressed maybe with a different team or with an addition to the normal team? So instead of it seeming like there is a police officer at the door and they're concerned about something that might be, an event that is more of a mental health crisis, how can we partner with mental health advocates and the police to make sure that we're coming as a team, or that when we recognize that there is maybe an opportunity to bring in some mental health caretakers to address some systemic issues or maybe a short-term issue that can keep that situation more aligned towards healing and towards finding the right resources that are needed than just taking a pure, policing kind of public safety approach. And in 2021, they assisted 26 individuals in our community, wow, which is really a big deal. That's 26 individuals who are being connected with the resources that they need and hopefully getting some long-term ongoing support. The Zionsville Fire Department, they did not let the pandemic stop them from responding to calls, to staffing every shift, to being away from their families during a pandemic and missing holidays, the contact tracing and all of the work for COVID. Folks forget that it's an EMS and fire department. Our fire department, our EMS personnel, they were putting themselves at risk, going into homes, responding to emergencies. They have so much for us to be grateful for, not just that they're at the ready when we need them, but even when times are complicated and it requires a lot more extra effort and extra navigation. They don't think twice, and they're there when we need them. We're really a fortunate community.
Getting around town became a little easier.
A little bit, yeah.
Thanks to a big road project that DPW was working on. Tell us about that.
Yeah, really, do we ever stop road projects?
Probably not.
It is. It's
not in a growing town.
No. And I love everything about local government, truthfully. And it's been a joy to understand more and more about how in Zionsville, the Department of Public Works organizes and undertakes road construction projects. I think that in some ways it might look a little unique from other communities. And but when I ask these questions of Lance and his team, it's clear that they are very practical, and they're very focused on how can we undertake road projects where we're going to get the most bang for our buck at each segment of delivering on those road projects. So sometimes that means that it's more uncomfortable for us as riders on the road, because it may seem like something is taking a longer period of time because they're doing these in stages, but it's super smart from a financial perspective and really from using your resources to its best. We did open up a big roundabout and opened up the north-south connector. That was a project that Mayor Hawk really envisioned, and I was so happy that he was able to participate in the ribbon cutting and the groundbreaking for that interchange. His vision has led to something that now I think even in such short order we can't imagine not having anymore. And I am so grateful to all of our DPW folks and all the contractors that worked on it. And I think it opens up a lot of opportunity for the future.
Speaking of getting around town, you have found importance in creating crosswalks. Tell us why.
When I first came into office, I launched a pedestrian mobility advisory committee. I wanted a group of community residents across different parts of town to come together and just to share stories and ideas about where might we look for some very strategic locations for crosswalks. We don't want to have crosswalks just go up anywhere. It's can become dangerous. One thing that most residents aren't aware of is that the pedestrian only has the right of way once they're in the crosswalk. So there's a lot of public education in Indiana that we have to do to try to make sure people don't take advantage of something without understanding their responsibilities and the vehicular traffic's responsibility. We have a group of community residents who serve on the PMAC, but we've met with our in-house engineering team and our DPW director to talk through where are some of the best candidates for future pedestrian crosswalks. And we wanted to really think through, well, let's look at safe routes to schools as one of our first driving reasons for doing this. And we've had some very passionate conversations around this, about where and what's first and priorities. From those conversations, we've had just kind of a handful of projects come to the top. I also want to say that I'm really grateful that the town council president, Jason Plunkett, came to me and said he really has a passion for looking for safe routes to school and pedestrian crosswalks as well. So he serves as a part of this committee, which is really helpful. Oak Ridge and 975 is the first crosswalk that has gone through a whole engineered process. So the first part is that the advisory team kind of talks about where they feel community-wide we have pain points for crossing. And then our engineering team really sets up cameras and a formal evaluation over a period of time so that you really get counts, not just at peak times, but all the time. And there are national standards for when does it cross a threshold where we want to stop traffic so that we can have pedestrians cross on a roadway. A couple of other sites that are under review include Ford and Starkey Road, and Mulberry and Governor's Lane close to the high school.
Another step to modernize Zionsville came through zoning, which a lot of people aren't as familiar with zoning as maybe you would like for them to be, and may not understand it to the same degree as those that participated in a big part of this process. Tell us about the process to modernize zoning in Zionsville.
As you can imagine, over years and years of time, the regulations, the zoning ordinances change and evolve to meet the needs of the community at that time. And this rewrite project is to take the zoning regulations that are in place now and evolving them towards future needs of the community. I think that this forward-facing, consistent, and easy-to-use way of looking at local regulation is something that the town really hasn't done in decades. So we're taking a fresh look at current zoning regulation and evaluating what our peers across the state, the region may be doing, and looking at how we can right size those zoning ordinances to make this even more livable, even more safe, and also something that doesn't cause confusion. And finally, I will add that just like everything else, I'm a broken record. We went to the community and really shared everything that we had about why we were moving forward with a zoning rewrite, what that means for everyday average Zionsville residents, and worked to make sure that the language we were using was very accessible and made sense, and it wasn't just jargon. So instead of just having meetings in town hall, we went out to other locations and invited the community in to learn more about what this ordinance rewrite looks like.
The town of Zionsville has had a long-time commitment to environmental sustainability. Tell us more about what's going on right now. And recently, the town of Zionsville has won an award.
Yes, very exciting. The town of Zionsville has been recognized by AIM for the Green Project of the Year. And part of that, I believe, is because the long-term history of Zionsville has been very much rooted in conservation. Our moniker is a town within a park. And I feel like that is a big reason why my family moved here, and we've lived here for over 20 years because of this community mindset. So it's just been really natural for us in terms of the work we're doing here at the town to look for ways that we can talk about the work that we've been doing for so long and add to it. And maybe even really formalize it so that we can get a better idea, a better look into how our sustainable practices, what benefit does it yield. We were awarded the 2021 Green Project of the Year from AIM, and that was for a variety of green and sustainability initiatives. One of them has been, it's really honestly a pretty ambitious kind of project, because what we're trying to do is the town of Zionsville positively impact the mitigating greenhouse gases. IU Bloomington has an entire decades-long kind of program where they have a grad student work with a community on a variety of sustainability initiatives aimed at creating a pattern across the state of building blocks of sustainability projects and sustainability initiatives. This is our second year participating in that project, and it's been just really wonderful that the data collection, the way that we can work towards validating where we are actually curbing some of the greenhouse gas impact here in Zionsville. There's recycling in every park. You have lots of access to information about how our natural environment can be preserved and protected through our environmental programming initiatives that are managed by Mindy Murdoch and her team. We also partnered with Earth Mama to collect compost at your doorstep. And through the first year with our partnership with Earth Mama, 66,000 pounds of compostable waste material has been collected in Zionsville.
It's a lot.
That's a lot.
So the Parks Department has been exceptionally busy this year with new developments, and they created Winterfest and ice skating and the Carpenter Nature Preserve. So there's certainly a lot going on there. Tell us more about what's coming with the Parks Department.
As I mentioned, this town has long held love for its nature parks, for its natural areas. Something that I felt like we wanted to lean into this first administration was delivering recreation programming. That has, outside of the Nature Center, there hasn't been a lot of other recreation services that the town of Zionsville's Parks and Rec provided. And boy, you shoot them an idea and they go gangbusters. It has been remarkable, the work that this team has done on coming up with recreation activities. Pickleball. Have you played pickleball? Have you tried that out?
No, I am not that good, but I have tried it. I can't say that.
We should do this sometime.
You know what?
I would really love that. It's kind of the old lady sort of thing.
This is not going to go well.
I play with my 10-year-old. And so, I think it is just super fun. And it was one of those hits that came out of nowhere. And this Parks Department pivoted like that. And they were having, converting tennis courts into pickleball courts and making plans for more pickleball coming soon to a park near you.
A lot of people love it.
It is so easy. It's so accessible. And, you can just have fun. You don't have to feel like you're, John McEnroe or something like that when you go out to play. The partnership with the Hussey Mayfield Library and the Nature Center has also been one of those found treasures. Not something that we went in with a plan for, but we needed to exit the Zionsville Nature Center that had been a partnership with the schools for so long. That timeline had reached an end. This opportunity to take a sliver of that nature center and add it to the youth programming downstairs in the library, just a phenomenal hit. I don't think they're ever going to let us go.
And that's the way it should be. Those are good partnerships.
It really is. It's such a great partnership. And I expect that even as we continue to plan in the future for where we do ultimately build a larger nature center, I'm hopeful that this partnership will be something that's solidified for the long term. In the summer of 2020, I had the opportunity to tour the former Wolf Run golf park with then owner Stan Burton. And Julie and I walked through the entire grounds and were just amazed at the incredible beauty of that land. More than 200 acres of natural spaces. Mother Nature was taking over the former golf course. And all I could think of is that this would be the most beautiful park for Zionsville. If there was a way we could preserve all of this land and make it another nature refuge for visitors and residents. So I asked the owner at the time, how much would it cost to buy this land and turn it into a park? And after a little bit of talking, he was like, $5 to $6 million. So I went home that night and started calling people asking for $1 million. And got a lot of laughs, but I'm definitely interested in this project. Like, I want to hear more. And I kept calling and kept talking. And eventually I reached out to Nancy Carpenter. Our paths had crossed in the past on different environmental projects. And I asked her if she, would sit down and talk a little bit about this particular project. And I described what I was thinking and asked if she would just go and look at the property. I felt like for the first time, someone was looking at me like, yeah, I really do want to imagine what it would look like to get more natural parkland for our community. And she and her husband walked out and came away with the same feeling that Julie and I did, that this must stay a park. And they are such incredible stewards of our natural environment, and made the decision that they would buy the entire property from the family and begin the process of turning it over into, really working with wildlife groups and state organizations and federal organizations and the Nature Conservancy to really look at bringing back all the wild and natural components of that former golf course. And the plan is that the town will purchase the land from them. They'll leave $1 million gift into it, which is really remarkable. I mean, incredibly remarkable. So the Carpenter Nature Preserve is a thing. We did also work to set up a Parks Foundation, the first Parks Foundation for Zionsville officially. And that entity is working to raise dollars for not just programming in all of our parks, but also long-term fundraising so that we can build amenities in some of our newer parks. Speaking of recreation, I have to make sure that I talk about the incredible job that the parks team did putting together Winterfest. Not only did our own team build the whole platform for Winterfest, the programming that the very small and mighty parks programming team put together was just phenomenal. There was something for all ages. I was happy to be out with the reindeer feeding group one day, and it was just nothing but smiles. Someone who doesn't really enjoy the winter, I found myself out and about in Mulberry Park on nearly the daily. Another very key amenity that this community has is our Zionsville golf course. And it had a record year through COVID. And I think some folks rediscovered their love of this particular amenity that we have, and others discovered it for the first time. So really excited about that, but also understand that all that usage, there's some things that we've needed to shore up. So visitors in the future are going to see that the work that the team is undertaking to overhaul the golf cart pathway system, really shore it up, make it, even out some of the bumps. So that should be something that visitors in the spring or fall, I'm not entirely sure the timeline for that, will really enjoy seeing. The Starkey Park Stairs project, which was started last year, will be fully open this spring, and it is going to be so dog friendly, and I'm super excited. Heritage Trail Park Phase 2 was launched this past year, and in that it includes a new playground, sidewalk, pathway along the road, and of course the new dog park that is opened in Heritage Trail.
Tell us about your new finance initiatives.
This year we introduced a balanced budget, and for the first time began developing a forward-thinking finance planning process. The balanced budget that we presented to council, which they adopted, I'm so super grateful for that, was $32.5 million. 64% of our total budget goes to public safety. That includes fire, police, and public works. And $7 million of that are allocated specifically for street repairs. We had such a limited amount of dollars to use for any kind of increase to this year's annual budget that we sat and talked through, well, what's our top priority? And I think from a leadership standpoint, from department heads to the deputy mayor, our HR director, and myself, it was an easy answer. Our top priority was going to be the humans that make this work happen. So while we did not have a lot of dollars coming in that were new dollars, we did plan to take all of that increment, all of that increase, and invest it in a 4% raise for all of our employees here at the town. A big part of what I want to focus on for our financial situation is, as we talked about earlier, increasing the diversity of our property tax base, really working to attract more corporate investment in our community, so that supports our schools, but that it also supports our parks department, also enables us to provide for recreation programming and supports our public safety and public works teams. We have been working on a budget and expense plan that is really a multi-year budget from both a revenue, expense, and cash standpoint. And this trends over an 18-month period. That's the work that we've been doing behind the scenes. I wanted to have a finance committee that could help us take a look at some of our practices, make recommendations, talk about how do we look at what other communities are doing and take advantage of some of those lessons learned. We have some internal staff members that are a part of that. I've also asked a counselor to join us, and we have an external member of the community who works actually as a member of the chamber who participates on our finance committee. And what we want to do there is really just look for best practices and ways that we can improve on some of our internal operations and ways that we can think through revenue generation from different sources.
That was a great overview. A lot in a little bit of time. So what's coming in 2022?
Well, as you might imagine, we've got a lot on the docket. The 5-year master plan for parks, it's time for that again. And that's always a really good opportunity to engage the community and, again, to go where they are and really get feedback. We've been doing those for decades, and they yield so much good information. And lots of to-do lists come out of those planning sessions. And we're also doing a plan for the Carpenter Nature Preserve. What does the community want to see there that we don't have in other parks that we currently have here in Zionsville? I've participated in a couple of those, and it's just really exciting, some of the ideas that our community members are coming up with. We are opening Overly Warman in 2022, which is really, really exciting. Have had an opportunity to sneak back and see some of the really cool amenities that are a part of that. Exciting that our rail trail system is being expanded as a result of that project as well. That southern expansion towards Zionsville Road and the trailhead that will be there is going to be terrific, a great addition to our trail system. But we're also having the trail system extend north towards Whitestown. The building blocks are all coming together for this vision of our trail system, which has been in place for decades. And there will come a day where you and I will be able to do this, what we're doing, on our bikes, riding all the way up to Lebanon.
You can ride your bike. I'll be on your sidecar.
Sounds awesome. It is going to be just so terrific, the way that we are linking communities through walking and strolling and biking. I'm just super, super excited. Frankly, I moved here because I thought this trail system had one of the best plans and was really a perfect amenity for any family at any age.
So Perry Township also has a lot going on. So what's going on with the growth there?
Yes. So it's been really terrific getting to know some of the members of the Perry Township community. Early this year, we started to formalize that a little bit with a Perry Township Advisory Committee and started to get more feedback from them about where are the gaps, what are some of the things they really, really want to see. Broadband is an area, just internet connectivity is not as strong out there as it is in other parts of Zionsville. So the deputy mayor and I have really advocated with the state and other community, other channels to try to move more broadband activity in that direction. And I'm hopeful that we'll see even some more progress in that regard in this next year. It's out of our hands, and the best we can do is really advocate on behalf of that. But we are going to formally undertake a land use comprehensive plan effort in Perry. That hasn't been done before. It is time. It's time for us to really understand what does the community want to formally see and what are some of the opportunities that might be available over the next decade or so. I am really committed to doing what I can as mayor to make sure that the Perry Township component of Zionsville feels that they are as much a part of all the opportunities that are here in Zionsville as, you know, those of us who are planted right next to, you know, this building, for example. And I'm very grateful for, you know, all the advice and input we've been getting from residents out in that area.
With the North-South Connector complete, there's going to be some more major road work done. Tell us about how that's going to get started.
That north-south connector and the roundabout has certainly helped traffic flow through that area. And we've already talked about how it's opened up, you know, a whole new corridor into our town. The next project is that Oak Street 800 East roundabout area. That is currently a signalized stop, four-way stop, and it will be a roundabout, but it's going to take a while. Every project has, you know, a year of engineering and design and right-of-way acquisition. So it may not look like we're working on it, but we are. I think folks are going to be excited to see that signalized stop transition into a roundabout. That preliminary work is going to get started this upcoming year. And but we probably really won't see anything change about it for another year to come.
Thank you again. We really appreciate hearing about what's gone on in 2021 and what's coming in 2022. Mm-hmm. And thank you for joining us for State of the Town.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you joining me today. It's been a pleasure.